Hey, knife people. So let's say, first of all, hit like, subscribe, and make comments. Share it with your friends. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends. So let's say you want a Spyderco. Let's say the small knives aren't, what does it for you. Let's say you want something a little bit bigger. You want more of a 3.5-inch blade. You want something kind of like a PM2, but you don't want to spend 170 plus. These typically start around 170 for the plain S30V and G10, and then you get up into some of the other steels and Micarta and some other things, and you could be well over $200. So let's say you want a Spyderco. You want that type of blade, you want that type of ergonomics, you want it to be decent steel and stuff like that, but you just, you don't want to spend $180 on a knife. That's very rational for a lot of people. Some people don't mind spending that. I'm one of those people that will spend that if I like it, but I also like a good bargain. But no, maybe not everybody has $180, or maybe your wife's like, keep it under 100, So what might you buy if this is what you want, but you don't want that price tag, and you want to keep it well under $200? Well, here's a solution, but you still want a Spyderco. Well, I think I have your solution. So you may notice the box looks very similar. And that's because this is actually made by Spyderco. So they have a subsidiary. These will be made in China and then imported into Golden, Colorado. But the Bird line is the value line of Spyderco. So they're taking their designs, their ergonomics, the things that, the reasons why people like Spyderco PM2, PM3s. I've got a Native. I've got my Delica. People want that style of knife, but you might not want to spend $110, $99, this one was $130, that was $110, this is $180-ish. Maybe you want to keep it well under $100. What if you want to keep it under $70, but you still want basically a PM2? Well, you could try the used market. You could go and try to find one that's not that banged up, or you could go for the Bird Raven 2. So what do you get? Well, this is what you get. You get a CTS BD1 steel, which coincidentally is the same steel that is here on my US-made Para 3 lightweight. It's not a bad steel by any means. It's not S30V, but who cares? It's a decent steel. It's G10. You're getting a knife here with very similar ergos. You've got your finger choil. You've got that same kind of leaf-shaped blade. Now you are getting a liner lock on, in this case, on Teflon bushings instead of phosphor bronze. I'm going to look and see if there's a place that sells phosphor bronze washers for these knives, because I'll probably just switch it over. But, Teflon works. But you're talking about a knife that is more than $100 cheaper than this, but you're getting similar handle materials. You got a lanyard hole. You've got a 4-position stainless steel pocket clip. Looks a little different, but it's 4-position, just like the US-made Spyderco Paramilitary 2. It opens the same way. You're not looking at 13, whatever it is, 13 CR 8 MOV, whatever I forget the damn steel. It's a weird name. But you're not dealing with that. You're getting CTS BD1, which, like I said, is what came on my US-made Paramilitary 3. So you're getting a knife that is much more in line size-wise. I mean, let's look at the blade length. We're looking at a 3.5-inch blade with a 3-inch cutting edge. We're looking at a 3.5-inch blade with a just over 3-inch cutting edge. So you've got a couple millimeters more. Maybe 1/8 of an inch. So very similar size, very similar shape. And I find the ergonomics on both of them to be excellent. This feels good. So does this. And you've got that jimped ramp. You've got that choil to choke up on if you want. But if you have big hands, you still have enough to get a handful on this. So left and right hand carry, tip up, tip down, just like the Paramilitary 2. And you have single hand opening, flicks open if you want to do your Spidey flick or whatever. I'm assuming, let's see. Yeah, I know I argue with people about this all the time. I don't care what you say. I think it's a dumb way to open a knife. If I have to watch an instructional video and practice it, then it's not efficient. And I get hate all the time from people. See, you can do it, but whatever. I'm just not a fan. Can you do it? Yeah, I'll probably have to shift the grip a little bit. Now this blade is a little looser than this. This I'm sure we'll have to break in, but you could probably sit there and fiddle with it and figure out how you got to do it. But in any case, I just roll it open typically. That's just my preferred method. I'm not in so much of a hurry that, oh my God, I've got to get it open. And that 1/10 of a second is going to make a difference. You open it up, cut it, close it, put it away. If you want to flick it, I mean, this to me is instant. I don't have to think about it. I could pick up any knife. It doesn't matter which one it is. And it just, for me, it just flies open. This does it always. So you can do Spidey flick. You can do your thumb roll or your thumb flick. The one thing you won't be able to do that the paramilitary can do is on this, if you want to flick it just with the lock. Woo! This one doesn't roll as well as this one for some reason. I probably adjust the pivot. But you can use the lock on this one, you know, and obviously you're not going to be able to do that on a liner lock. But I think this is an excellent option. I mean, and there's a smaller one. So if you want something more like a Para 3, but you don't want to spend the money, then for around 50 bucks, you can get, I don't know if it's the Meadowlark. There's a bunch of these, but they're the same company. They're just offshoring some of the manufacturing. You know, some of the Spydercos are made in U.S. This one's made in Golden Showers, Colorado. This one's made in Golden Shower, Colorado. So is the Para 2. This one is made in Japan with VG10. And so this one's made in China. So to me, that's a good solid knife. The lockup is, I mean, there's no wiggle on those Teflon bearings. Huh. Yeah, nothing there. The G10 looks pretty damn close, man. It's even the same pattern. As far as the machining there, I get a little bit of light on it. Yeah, the handles feel identical. These liners are in sets. So you're only seeing G10 as opposed to you seeing the stainless steel here. But these are just plain barrel spacers, those standoffs. These actually have some machining on them. At least on those two. On that one it doesn't. Well, that's because that's a hollow tube for your for a lanyard if you want. This is a great knife. The edge just feels, I mean, it feels pretty sharp. Let's see. Out of the box, haven't touched it or stropped it. Oh, look at that. Effortless. This knife is $67. Push test. Beautiful. That's a really good edge. That's actually as good as any of the US-made Spydercos have been. So this is the Byrd Raven 2. I think this is excellent value for money. I don't mind spending a little bit extra money and getting the larger, you know, the more expensive US or Japanese-made Spydercos. Right now, my current faves are Para 3 and the Delica. The Delica is what I was carrying today while I was out riding. But this is certainly a viable option. It's fairly lightweight. I mean, it's about the same weight. The blade thickness. The blade thickness might even be, I should bring my calipers up one of these days. The blade thickness on the Byrd might even be slightly thicker than the Para 2. Tapers down to a nice, well-supported tip. It's got good belly. It's not quite as pokey and stabby, but I would say that the tip is probably a little stronger on this one. This one's going to be just that more, you know, easily going into something. It's a finer tip, but you could probably break that one off easier. That one's a little fatter, still quite stabby, but not, it's not, oh, Jesus. It's not a needle like this one. Almost punctured my thumb. But yeah, that's the Byrd 2. CTS BD1N. It is made in China, but sold and I believe warranted and all that kind of stuff by the fine folks at Spyderco right here in the US of A. Not a bad little knife. And sometimes some of the people like the ergos on this a little better. I think if I'm holding it this way, that one feels a little more secure. This area is a little narrow here, but when you choke up on it, then this one feels better than the Para 2. That's a really nice feeling knife. But it being flared out at the bottom and then skinnier up here, up at the waist, is very similar to the Delica. I don't have anything negative to say about this other than it would have been nice to see phosphor bronze washers. I don't know how much that would add to the cost over Teflon, but, you know, the action's nice. I'm sure it'll just smooth out. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find a set of phosphor bronze washers for that. Taking it apart in disassembly, you got a T8 and then T6s. So you got your main pivot, and then you got T6s for the clip. Clip is good tension, little stiffer than I would normally want. It's not deep carry, like that, but that's an upgrade. This one's deep carry, but it's, you know, wire. This one's not deep carry. I've got a deep carry coming from my Delica. So this is what I would recommend to people, you know. If you don't want to spend Spyderco money, but you want a Spyderco, look at the bird lines, BYRD. Excellent, excellent value for the money. I had one of these years ago, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. I'd given it to Troy, and he then dropped it in the lake after that. But I'd feel much worse if he dropped a Spyderco. So this is something you can get. Blade centering, perfect. That is, I mean, that is right on. So super sharp blade, as sharp as any of these. Same steel as on the American Spyderco. Similar pocket clip, 4-way adjustable, ambidextrous. That's a great knife. That's a great knife. It's not even like, oh, it's a cool knife, you know, for people that can't afford the Spyderco. When you get down to it, this is an excellent knife. It's strong as shit. Those are thick steel liners. They are milled out in there. I don't know if you can see that. They are milled out to lighten it, but those are thick steel liners. Like this, I would, it'd be sacrilege to say, but I would imagine, you know, this will hold an edge longer being S30V, but as far as like if I was having to make a hard use of the knife in a survival situation, I would say that this is every bit as strong as this. The compression lock on this one may be stronger than a liner lock. I'll give it that. But as far as like the strength of the knife and putting pressure on it, this one has more flex and movement to it. The liners are thinner. The blade's a little thinner. And here it's actually thicker. It's beefier. That's outstanding. That is, I'm going to give this an outstanding rating. The Byrd Raven 2. They've got some other ones that might have cheaper steels. Get the Raven 2 or whatever other ones that have the CTS BD1N steel. That's a decent blade steel. It's up there. I think it's a little bit over D2. It's between that probably and VG10. I'm sure some knife aficionado is going to come in and correct me on that. They always do. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Correct me. If I'm wrong, go ahead and feel free. You just don't have to be so hurtful about it. There you go. That's all I have to say. That was my reveal for today. Was you want one of these, but you just don't have the money, or your wife won't let you spend that. Come in with this. Take the extra $100 and take your wife out to dinner. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. I got one coming tomorrow that is going to be, I think, one of the more interesting ones of late. And what it is I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not even going to tell you the brand. But if you've been thinking about a Benchmade tagged out, which there's the bell out, there's the bug out, and now they've got the tagged out. So go ahead and Google Benchmade tagged out. It's a large 3.6-inch clip point blade hunting knife with an axis lock and all that, but it's basically made like a bug out. It's super thin, super light, even for a big knife, super EDC-able. And but let's say you want that, but you don't want to spend 80 bucks, you know, or 180 bucks. You don't want to spend 100 bucks. You don't even want to spend 50 bucks. Maybe you only have $30 to just blow on a knife. I got you covered. And I have I've heard some good things about it, and I'm hoping that it lives up to the hype that I've built up in my head. So wait for that tomorrow. In the meantime, it's all about the Byrd Raven 2. Excellent, excellent blade. Good value for the money. And even though it's made in China, it's still a Spyderco. Remember, some of your Benchmade, or not Benchmades, but it's like some of the new Microtechs. There's a lot of knives being made out of China. But Spyderco's willing to put their name on it, and they're willing to warranty it. But instead of making it in the U.S. and it costing you significant money. I mean, here, give you an example. One last thing. So we've got our Bird Raven 2. The blade centering on this is actually better than the Para 2. This one shifts a little bit to the left. It's just, I love the Para 2, just a little big. And this is too. It's a little big. I mean, it's a little bit smaller. That's one thing I will give it, is that in your pocket, it's a little bit shorter. But it's still got a blade that's roughly the same size, and it does fill your hand. You just don't have as much of it spilling out of your hand as you do here. So it's just a tiny bit smaller in the handle, but it's not as small as the Para 3. But we did a sharpness test. I think that's it. I think I'm rambling at this point. I've run out of good things to say, but you should definitely consider this. Anyway, have a good one.